What's going on, everyone? This is Jay Wicker with Small Business Stand Up, and I got a brilliant co-host here, Miss Daniela MacArthur. How are you?
I'm doing well, Mr. J, the host with the most.
Yes, you co-host with the most. But, but listen, I guess everybody kind of coming on a little late though. But you know how I try to do. I try to be on time, man. But I know everybody entrepreneurs. They got a lot going on. But we're gonna jump right into this thing, man. Well, first of all, how was your week so far? How is your week going on so far?
So far, it's been pretty productive. I've been working on some good projects and whatnot. So,
Yeah,
kind of dialing it in. I had a couple of slight mental off days last week, but
yeah.
we back in the saddle. Eyes on the prize.
Absolutely. Gotta get focused, man. I kind of the same way. This weekend was kind of chaotic, but got back on track, and I'm ready to rock and roll, man. Ready to rock and roll. So we're gonna set this thing off, man, like this. Where we at? So let's jump right into it, right? So what are some of the biggest challenges that a small business owner face? Small business face, right? It's a lot of different pitfalls, right? So what are some of the challenges that would come to your
Look,
mind?
and I can speak from my since I'm here. I can speak from my personal experience. I think, and of working with people is getting overwhelmed by your vision
Mm,
because obviously you arrived at the point of being an entrepreneur for a specific reason. Like you feel like you can provide a service that is not being provided or provide a service at a better capacity and whatnot. And you have all these ideas and concepts, but making them become real is
mm,
kind of what hurdles it. All that little stuff that people don't think about, the back automations and, the systems and all these things. Cause it's like, what you want. And it's like up on a hill, but you got
mm.
to climb that hill, and that hill turns into Everest in that first
Wow.
year because you don't know where to get the resources. You don't know who to reach out to or who you can trust sometimes too. I think that's
Yeah.
another big one.
And a lot of times it's uncharted territory for you too. You know what I'm saying? So, man, so the question is, let me look at the question one more time here. So, what are some of the biggest challenges, man? It's a lot, man. I guess one of the challenges would be is that in business, man, when you first get your business off the ground, your idea tends to grow, and it's like it's constantly growing because you see different things. Not far as like you selling product or whatever, but your thought you may think of, let's say, a bike or whatever, right?
Yep.
Think of a bike or whatever. But then as you building this bike, you might see, okay, I might want to make this a three-wheel bike. You know what I'm saying? I got the tools here. I'm able to do it. Before you know, I need to put a horn right here, or maybe have you know what I'm saying? It's
Maybe
like,
get a
and you have to,
basket, and
yeah,
that's that
yeah,
that
yeah,
over
yeah,
when
yeah.
you and they call it so in the kind of continuous improvement world, we call that scope creep
Mm,
because like when you're solving a problem with precision, you have to know what the problem is.
mm,
And you'll have all these things that come in that are kind of related, and they will slowly, if you focus on them, they will drive you away from your solution.
mm.
And that's kind of
Wow.
similar in business, especially like you said, product. Real estate's perfect example. How many different ways can you do real estate? You gotta pick a lane and
Yeah.
stay in it. And but it's tempting to possibly go, okay, well, maybe I want to dabble in this, or maybe I want to dabble in this, but then it pulls your attention away from your original plan that you had.
Now, what was the word you said again? What is it called?
Scope creep.
Scope creep.
Yep.
Huh. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna write that down. What's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
What's going on, brother Jay?
Hey, doing great, Johnny, man. You doing all right today?
What's up, sister
Everybody
Danielle?
is
How
here.
y'all doing?
What's going
All right.
on?
What's going
Fine
on,
with
Miss
you?
Lachey?
How y'all doing?
Hey, everybody.
All right, all
I
right.
came in a little late to the party, so somebody please tell me what a scope creep is. I've never heard of
You know, I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah.
it. I like wrote
Are
it
you?
down. I'm like, I'm gonna have to Google
Are
that
you?
because that is
Got my sticky
I
notes
never
and
heard that
everything.
before. I was like,
right.
yeah.
Look, that
So,
always fascinating because it's like when you live in a world. So I was talking in the world of like project management, or when you're root cause analysis, when you are
Got
trying to
it.
solve a specific problem, and I'm sure there's different ways that different people call it, but in my world, it was called scope creep when you slowly start to lose focus and you're focusing on related aspects, but that, because we were talking about in business, when you first start a business, you may have a specific target product or service, but then somebody, oh, you could do this, you could do this, why don't you do this, why don't you do this, and then if you start to get lost in those thoughts, it'll pull you away from your original
Oh
direction.
yeah.
And I'm
Yeah,
sure
man.
some people
Okay,
fall
so
into
maybe
that.
I'm a little country. We call that chasing squirrels. Like, oh, there's a squirrel. There's a squirrel. Just getting
There you
Okay.
distracted
go.
by
Yes.
things. Okay.
I've heard that
Thank,
before. I've heard
thank you for
that.
interpreting that.
I
Thank
guess I'm
you.
a little
Okay.
country too. Okay,
Okay.
that's the word of the day though.
Yes.
Scope creep.
Scope
I
creep.
like
Oh
it.
yeah.
Go
All right,
creep. Yeah. Look at
cool.
y'all.
So when you
Yeah.
guys think about that, what are some of the biggest challenges that small businesses face, a business owner face, I guess you could say.
Well, I think for me, what I've seen so many entrepreneurs dealing with is getting so wrapped up in the idea of things that they don't take action and they don't execute. And it's a combination of analysis paralysis. It's a combination of, in some cases, even fear of the imposter syndrome, fear of success. Just they get so wrapped up in their head and wanting things. Perfectionism is another problem, wanting things to be exactly perfect before they take action. That's something that I feel a lot of entrepreneur minded people, when it comes to the beginning of things. And then conversely, if they're not in that category, then they fall into thinking too big, right? Like they're trying to do a little bit of everything, and they really end up dividing their efforts. They're doing so many different things that they're not giving any one thing an opportunity to be successful. So I always
Wow.
hate to see both of those. And a lot of it just comes from not having core goals, not knowing what your KPIs or your key performance indicators are. You have to, for each new thing that you're trying to do with your business, you need to have key performance indicators. You need to know what things you're
Yeah.
going to look at to determine whether or not this venture or this service or whatever it is being successful. And if you find that you're not hitting those KPIs, it's not to say that you abandon the idea completely, but it's time for a pivot. So I think on both ends, it's a lack of direction, a lack of proper goal setting. They have broad goals like, I want to make X amount of dollars, I want to make this amount of money, but you need specific key performance indicators. What are the things that you need to be able to check off in order for you to reach that goal? And a lot of people, when it comes to their goal setting, they don't do that. So for me, that's what I've seen 9 times out of 10 when it comes to entrepreneur. That usually is the root of their issue, and it just seems to manifest itself in different ways.
Facts.
Yep.
Facts. What about you, Jay?
I'd have to say just having a plan. I'm gonna agree with Lachey on especially on the perfectionism aspect, but I think it's like a balance between the two. It's really a discernment thing. Um, a lot of people I come in contact with get into businesses without having an idea of what really it is they want out of it. And I'll just give you like an example. I worked with when I was in the entertainment side of things. I worked with a couple of clothing brands, and it was like, well, where do you see yourself? Do you want a boutique shop? Do you see yourself in that situation? Do you see your brand inside of Macy's? Because when we were talking, a lot of times we get to talking about like business structure. That's one of the key things. Because that your goals are going to dictate, really how you should structure yourself, because that's setting the limit, the bar. But then that all goes down to, all right, I sat there and I did all it, and you didn't go with what felt good on the inside. You didn't go with, what you truly wanted. It may have been what you heard in a seminar, what you heard on somebody randomly on social media, but at the end of the day, it wasn't like, all right, well, I want to do this. This is the life I want to live. Just that the basics, the vision board, right? Like
Yeah.
just knowing the basics of what it is that you truly want out of life, and this business is going to fulfill some need. Maybe it's a passion, maybe it's just something that's going to be an income producing activity. But if you don't correctly assess what that is, where it is, how much time you need to devote to it. If it's going to be, yeah, I want to be inside of every major brand and, all across the nation. Well, you're going to have to put in a different type of grind than if you were just going to open up one shop in your hometown.
Yeah.
So, just really just being decisive and having discernment on, okay, this is what I want. All right, there's are some things that I don't understand, and we're gonna have to figure out along the way, trial and error. But just having that overall goal, idea of what the end goal is gonna look like, or what you want it to look like, and that changes. But
Yeah.
if you don't start somewhere and then go back and revise it, I think we talked about business plans. I don't know how many times, you know, you got to start somewhere with what you really want, and then you go through a process and then you realize, well, maybe that wasn't what I really wanted. It looked good at that point in time,
Yeah.
but if you don't have any idea, you won't go, or you won't know where to go. Or so that's
And
my.
I wanna piggyback off of that because I actually was in a webinar earlier today that was led by the social media director for Utah State University in collaboration with Rival IQ, and that was kind of like a big part of what they were talking about. Is exactly what he just said. You have to set a strategic plan for how you're going to take action. And a lot of times, a lack of that, you end up coming off as desperate. And that's something that a lot of people don't talk about, but I think it's really important. The reason why you need to do these things is exactly that, because as a result of you not having a plan, you end up chasing these squirrels or scope creep and you get away from what your original mission was. You start doing all of these things because they're trending, and they come off as extremely desperate, and essentially that's what it is. It's like a person's last ditch effort. Well, these things are probably it's working for these other people, so let me just hurry up, try to jump on that bandwagon and hope that I get a positive return on that as well. And I always use the analogy, like, when you don't have your research, when you don't know who your target audience is, when you don't have your goals, it's essentially like standing in a room and screaming to the top of your lungs with a bunch of people around you, hoping that somebody actually hears what you have to say, likes what you have to say, and decides to work with you. But when you translate that into real life, if you were in that room and someone did that, you would find that to be really weird. That's a put off. That's not something that says, hey, come work with me. That says, please block me. So
That's
we have
it might be
to
crazy.
think about that. Go ahead, say it again.
No, I said that screams they might be crazy.
Exactly. That's the fastest way to get delete, spam, delete. That's not actually marketing. Just because you're active and you're attempting at marketing, if you don't have a sound plan behind it, you're really just, I hate to say it, wasting your time, and you're really giving off bad energy, bad vibes for your business. And that's the last thing that you want to do. And anyone out there who has not gone through those steps, I really hate to tell you guys that, but that's what you're doing. You're wasting your time and you're risking the chance of coming off as desperate. And a lot of people would not like to think of themselves, in that way. But if you take a step back and you actually thought, hey, if I saw someone else doing this, how would it make me feel? What would I think about it? A lot of times people forget to put themselves into the position of the consumer. What does this look like to other people? If you don't like it when someone posts on their Facebook or Instagram page the same image 16 times, exactly why are you doing it?
Man, you better tell it.
And it's just a matter of, because they take themselves out of that consumer position and they're only thinking about themselves, which is another problem with entrepreneurship, is that we get so excited about our products or our services and we're so passionate that we only want to talk about us, our thing. And realistically, that's everyone. Everyone wants to hear about themselves. But if you're trying to sell to someone, the best way to reach them is not talking about you. Then you turn into Charlie Brown teacher, and all you hear is wow, 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 wow. No one is listening. If you want to reach people, you have to reach them where they're at, reach them on the platforms where they're at. First and foremost, you need to know what platforms you're, and I'm talking about social media because that's, mostly where I work, but you have to reach your audience exactly where they're at, and then you have to communicate to them in the language that they speak. Everybody wants to hear about themselves. What you do is great, but what can it do for me? How can that help me? How does that add to my life? That's how you communicate why a person needs to work with you. And too many times, entrepreneurs, they don't do that.
Man,
Yeah.
big facts.
Yeah.
What she said.
Yeah.
Because I'm in my little bitty world, I've dealt with that same thing, and it's so confusing to me how people so quickly forget about the consumer. And it's like, yes, you're on this side of being a business owner, but at the same time, don't forget about the other side, what it was like to be a consumer, what you like. But you also have to take into consideration, because I know we talk about people that sell products. Okay, if you're selling like jewelry, for example, yes, you may have to sell something that you may not wear, but when it comes to the marketing aspect, talking to people, dealing with people, things of that nature,
Yeah.
weird how people forget that.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? Going off of that, I want to give an example, right, to help people, to give them a solution to this problem. So if you are selling their product, like Danielle gave the example of jewelry, don't just show photos of your jewelry pieces.
What?
Be interactive with that. Record yourself or someone else getting ready for a night out, and that jewelry, them putting that on as a part of their night. And maybe their girls are complimenting the piece. There's so many different ways that you can present that item that shows it in real life. That's what appeals to people. No one wants to see that jewelry just on a piece of paper, or with a nice backdrop. Not to say that that's not something that you can't include as a piece, as one singular piece of your overall marketing plan. But the reason why so many companies have been going viral with let's be honest, not even necessarily the best products, right? Like, it's basic items that you can get from overseas, and they probably paid $2 for it, and people are paying $50 for it, right? The reason why these things are going viral is because they're using UGC, user generated content. They're leveraging influencers. They're leveraging their audience and people who have the same target audience as them in order to get the word out there. That is so much more effective than just taking still photos of your images. So I just want to make sure that I shared that as an option, because I feel like a lot of times, people, they know it's not working, but they don't get what else they could do. So, hopefully that helps somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, how you doing, Miss Sheila?
I am doing well. How are you guys doing?
All right,
Hey.
all right.
That's
You have
good.
anything for that question?
I don't know. Lachey goes off, so she
Hard
goes
act to
in when
follow.
it comes to marketing and business development. I don't know what's already been said,
Hit us
but
with the mental side. Hit us with the
yeah,
Right,
but
mental
I was
side.
just going to say, I think the biggest challenge for small business people is emotional management. A lot of the stuff that you guys are talking about really takes a lot of fortitude and tenacity, and some people just don't have they feel like, once I do this, then I can do that, right? And not really understanding that it's an emotional thing, like it's an insecurity in them to really put their face on a product. It's an insecurity for them to really step out and say, hey, Lachey, I need help. Hey, Danielle, give me a call. Hey, Johnny, I want to open up my books to you and show you my money. And I know it ain't, what I mean, the way it's supposed to be. So many of us feel like we got to present ourselves perfect before we actually go out and ask for help, and not realize that, you're in a business, and businesses, like Danielle said, it's a continuous improvement process, which means that you're always going to be working on something. There's always going to be some bolt that needs tightened, something that needs fixed. And, I think for us, especially as African Americans, we just really have perfectionism issues where we just want things to be perfect before we expose ourselves to individuals to help us You know what I mean? Like, I want you to come in and help me, but really, I want to make sure that I got it all together before I ask you for that, you know? And that's an emotional management issue. And I think that once we can start talking about those insecurities and really start dealing with and managing our emotions, I think we can excel in our businesses a lot more, you know?
Yeah, because I want to even piggyback on what you're saying, because there is a real element to that, right? Um, there are some situations where you won't enter into a room if you know you're not necessarily qualified, but when you know how to emotionally deal with yourself and your own, being realistic about where you are in your journey, but then okay, then there is a situation. It's the same as, like, I know, Jay, you're in real estate, so it may be people who, somebody wants to get into a deal, but they may not be able to seek traditional funding, right? They got to build their credit up in order to do it, and they may have known that from the get-go. So it's like, yeah, being realistic about the situation, but at the same time, don't let where you are prohibit you from moving forward
Yes.
at any point in time,
Yes.
because situations are only temporary, and the only constant in life is change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Facts.
And I just think that we have a big issue with accepting that, right? That, you know what, we all need help. We all on this journey together. And, we all have different lanes that we're strong in, and you need a team. And I think as a small business, trying to do it all yourself, yeah, you can do that for a little while, but your momentum is going to run out eventually, and you're going to have to call for the cavalry, right, to
Yeah.
come in and assist you. And some of us shut down, some of us, get stressed out, have mental breakdowns, can't sleep at night, anxiety attacks, taking medicine, depressed, but they really love this product and they feel like they was birthed to, put this thing out there, but they're not, asking for the assistance. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges that small businesses face, small business owners face, is not being willing to ask for help.
Yeah.
I
Going
find
to
that.
Google. And
I
I heard my coach say this before. You can go to Google, and Google they do, and YouTube, they have a lot of information, right? But remember, we understand information from one part of our brain. We actually implement that information from a totally different part. So
mm,
sometimes just having an accountability partner, like, I want you to hold me accountable to doing one, two, three things. Now, in 3 weeks I ain't got that done, I'm gonna need you to tell me to get a coach or talk to a therapist, because if I've held you accountable, if I went and got an accountability partner and said, hey, next week I want to have this done, then next week I'm like, oh, the kids did something, and then the next week and the next week, I'm gonna need you to recommend me go see somebody and talk about that, because I'm making excuses, rationalize. I'm rationalizing this situation, but I'm really telling myself rationalize to not do this thing that I know I need to be doing.
Yeah,
mm,
yeah,
Yeah.
man. That's a lot of good information, man. I think just on this topic alone, right? What you guys have got to be talking about, we can write like a book about that.
Yeah.
And
Right.
we can break
yeah.
down a lot of stuff just in that one. That get out from that one sentence right there, man. So
I think
that
I
one
think
question.
I think a lot of times people forget that, like, there's so many different aspects. And one thing that when I talk to, like, my clients is, but big belief. You have to believe that you have the capacity for this, because that self-limiting belief that, oh, well, I'm only good at this. I'm like, no, you just set that limit on yourself.
Yeah.
You're the person that just set that limitation in your life, when in all actuality, yes, you should not overextend yourself, but at the same time, if you give yourself that grace, with time, yes, I can conquer this. Yes, with time I can learn this. With time I can do this.
Yeah.
um One of the things that's always helped me out is, all right, if there's something that I need, and okay, I know I need help, but let's say you just super prideful, right? Do something on it. It can be a crappy job, but at least something was done.
Yeah.
And then go ask for help, because then you can't. My mom was one of those people where it's like I couldn't go ask her a question if I didn't try to figure it out myself. It's just literally shit. My mom, I'd ask her, "Hey, mom, did you try to figure? Did you try it?" So if you are somebody like that, I'm just speaking to anybody that's listening that may be like that. Maybe you grew up in a similar circumstance. Do something, and it may not be the best effort, but just, hey, this is what. If it's a website, hey, I just got a Wix template and put it together and changed a couple things. I didn't know exactly what all to do, but hey, this is what I have so far. And then maybe you just watch. You'll feel a lot different when you go speak to somebody about getting some help, because you will have already programmed in your mind, hey, I'm going to take a step forward. So this is nothing but helping what I've already built on myself. So it's just something that's helped me out along my journey.
I gotta piggyback off of that one because that's me, but you gotta set like guidelines to it because you
Oh
can't get
yeah.
lost in it. Cause
Oh
like I got
yeah.
like a 20-minute rule. If I find something, I'm a YouTube, Google. If I don't think I can do it, pass it on to the next person. like,
And
like if I think, nope, this isn't, nope, this looks way too complicated outside of my scope. All right, I
But
need
sometimes
help.
that's it. But sometimes
Mhm.
that's exactly all it
Yeah,
is literally figuring out what are the parameters of this? What are some of the key words? What is the jargon? What are some
yeah,
phrases and terms that I would need to know, so that way when I do speak to somebody, I don't feel like a complete idiot when I'm asking for questions. So now you're asking, there's no such thing as a dumb question, but there are such things as intelligent questions that show that you did a little bit of research, or you at least tried to help yourself to some degree. And I think that doesn't take a lot of effort, as much effort as a lot of people put on it. It may take 30 minutes. We have computers in our hands and pockets on a regular basis. You can easily swipe. If you got an iPhone, you can swipe to the left or to the right, go to the search, widget, and type in a question, whatever it is that just popped in your brain. And
Yeah.
that when you go ask for help, now you have some type of frame of reference that you at least did some homework, rather than saying, yeah, I know I need this, I know I need a website or whatever. And then you're going to speak to the designer, and they're like, well, do you have the domain name? What's the domain name? If you'd have just looked up, what do I need to have in order to have a website online, just a simple Google search, the first thing that would have came up is, I know I need a domain name. Now I know I need one. Where should I go buy one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds different from that first question of, yeah, I need a website. Do you own
Yeah.
the domain? Did you do this? Did you take some steps? They don't need you to do all the work. The web designer, that's the person who does it. But I at
Yeah.
least need to know where you are in the process. And if you do have something done, you are going to be that client that they want to deal with a little bit more, because,
Yeah.
hey, this person made my job easier.
Right.
So,
And I want to encourage all small business owners. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You
uh-uh.
know, you want to have some people around you that know some things that's different than you.
I'm
And I
definitely
think
not. I'm
that,
definitely not the smartest
and
Oh,
person.
I
yeah.
think that we fail to realize that. Like we want to be the smartest person in the room. And when we feel small, then we don't even go into rooms with people that are smarter than us. You know what I mean? And so
That's
we really have to be mindful that, when you building your team, you want your team members to be a little smarter than you,
because I'm coming
yeah,
from the corporate world. Trust me,
yeah.
they rely
Did we lose?
Oh,
okay.
yeah,
That's
but
I
nah, that,
heard a VP say that. Like I asked the question. I was like, "That's not my job. That's why I hired y'all." Like
yeah, yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, look
so
at
you
And
the
know,
Steve Jobs reference. Everybody loves bringing up Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs did not. He knew enough about programming to know exactly who needed to do what and
yeah,
what needed to happen. But
yeah,
outside of that, no, I focus on the branding. I focus on the aesthetic, the design, what's really going
mhm,
to keep people
Right.
coming back for more, what I'm good at. But I know that I need a Steve Wozniak to really focus on the programming side of it, because I don't know how to do it all, but
look,
I do know that it needs to be done.
mhm.
Right.
and for the
And that's
That's
nerds,
just
Time is
you
money
know,
too. Like the
yeah,
time that it takes for you to do, an extra amount of research beyond just getting a general understanding so
oh
that you
yeah.
can ask or have an intelligent conversation and ask intelligent questions. That's okay. But realistically, you don't need to try to learn every single thing possible out there about social media, about web design, about all of these things. Realistically, if you bring on a marketer, like most of us, on this podcast, all do some form of marketing. When you bring on someone like that, the purpose is that it frees up your time so that you can do more execution on the work. In the time that it would take you, let's say if it took you 5 hours to just research just social media, right? And not even just social media, just to learn how to be active on Facebook. And that 5 hours, you probably could have closed what, 6 deals in that time. So it's freeing up your time so that you can close more deals. But also, if marketing is done right, the whole purpose of it is to get you more business. I mean, we do this all the time. It's our job to stay up to date on the latest trends, on what's working, to constantly be doing research so that we can make sure we're positioning our clients in the best light possible. That takes time, but we're doing it for multiple clients. That is our product. That's what we do. It makes no sense to try to be an expert in everything. I mean, it's that old saying, they say, a jack of all, a master of none. That's what you end up doing, but you need to be the master in your craft. That needs to be your focus. You need to
That's
be.
not the whole quote.
That's not the whole
I,
quote.
I
That's
knew
not
you was
the
gonna
whole
say
quote.
that.
That's not the
That's
whole
not the
quote.
whole.
saying-
I'm
No,
sorry.
no,
I'm
no.
sorry.
Do I
Johnny,
feel
don't
like
mean to-
though? Do I feel like as small business owner, you need as small business owners, you need to know something, a little bit of something about everything in your business. Absolutely. I remember I hired a team and I was just like, I'm okay, I'm just gonna stay in my just, and stuff was coming to me. And I'm like, I don't know about that. And it just ended up being a hot mess on the backside of that because I didn't do my due diligence to make sure that I
Right. Due
knew,
diligence is important.
yeah,
Yes.
these areas, and at least knew what was coming across my desk, what was that about, and what was this about. So I do feel like as small business owners, we have to, do our due diligence and know and do the work and get a coach and, go through your whole little organizational chart and who's going to be responsible for what and what that looks like. As the leader of your team, you need to know those specs as you start to grow, but you just need to know a little bit about it, like a out sketch about it, and then trust that individual to do what you hired them to do. And that's another thing in our culture, we just don't. We need to
Yeah.
really work on trust. We just really have an issue with trusting people, with fidelity, with
Every
delegating responsibilities off. We want people to be cookie cutters of us. And a part of our show yesterday was unique. Let them do it in the unique way that they're going to do it, and then you can add your just to it after they do what they do. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But you
okay.
skipped the whole set. You said a team. Now that's bring on a team. That's a whole
Yeah.
different phase for people that may have never either worked in a productive and efficient team. Understanding team dynamics, and like you said, playing to everybody's strengths and stuff. That's another range that you have to learn is playing your position, knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, finding the strengths and weaknesses in others and acknowledging them, uh
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
understanding who's qualified to work on your team, because I think that's a
Yeah.
big thing where it's like you just getting your cousin because your cousin available,
Yeah.
but your cousin don't know how to do the job.
But I think
Yeah.
you speak to a point, and that's educating, right? I work with a lot of people who I'm like, okay, so just say you talked about jewelry. Okay, so what's the latest trends in jewelry? Like, what is gold in, is silver in, is bulky in? Like, oh, I don't really, keep up with that because I don't want it to affect my creative ability. How you in a field and you're not keeping up with the things that's going on in that field or in that industry? So even being willing to educate ourselves about our industry and what's going on in our industry, and not so much the faddish part of it, but we need to know that. But truly educating ourselves on our product, our services, our deliverables, and making sure that we are staying um, abreast of what's going on in our industries. And I think a lot of us just don't want to educate ourselves on certain,
Yes.
you
Can I?
know,
Ooh, can I?
things
Ooh,
that
ooh.
that are going on. And I think that is causing so much of an issue with our businesses. It's like, did you read the pamphlet? Did you just watch a YouTube video? Do you take time out to read books about this industry and what you're doing? Like, where are you getting your education? I ain't talking about formal education. I'm just saying learning about this industry, because how are you going to expand? You know,
Jump in, Johnny.
It just goes back to, heavy is the head that wears the crown. And that's why I often tell people, before you jump into this boat called entrepreneurship, really understand the weight that comes along with it. So I'm going to just give in my realm of what I deal with, numbers, right? I don't tell people that, all right, you need to be a bookkeeper, you need to be an accountant. But if you run a business, you need to know whether or not you're profitable or not. You need to know and have a basic. I can't tell you how many people I come in contact with, and, like, yeah, I want help on my tax bill. Well, how much did you gross? How much did you net? What do you mean? Well, these are just simple things that you need to understand as a business owner if you're really going to get out here and tell people,
Right,
yeah, support my business, support my business. Do you support your business?
right,
Do you take the time? And that's why no, you don't have to be an expert. You don't need to go put the 10,000 hours in every facet of your business, but you do have to, that Saturday, rather than going out and kicking it or whatever, that time needs to be spent doing a management seminar or something, or a course, or reading a book if you're going to have employees, because you need to understand how to manage your employees, how, like we were just saying, how to foster, teamwork amongst a group of individuals that have different backgrounds. This is something that, if you're going to jump into this boat and you're going to have to deal with these people, you need to educate yourself on that.
So
If
true.
you're going to have to pay taxes, guess what? The IRS has a whole situation of a video library made for small business owners. But rather than somebody sit down and just do the work, that Mamba mentality, do the work. If
Yeah.
you want to be successful, being an entrepreneur don't mean, yeah, y'all gonna see me out in the club, and what, half of the stuff that you see on social media, like these people, this may be tied into something we did in real life, but for the most part, like, the people that are really getting it are really getting it.
Yeah.
And you need to be understanding, like, yeah, man, I'm not out here reading so people can see that I'm reading or whatever the case is. No, this just so happens to be a book that I was getting some real value from, and it was a value proposition to share it. It was some
Yeah.
content, but do
there's a
the
book that I
work.
think will really help people with that. It's called Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business by
Yeah.
Gino Wickman. I I love that book. That is something that I actually help a lot of my clients to start implementing that process. But it's basically a book that does a lot of what he said. Like, this is how you get a grip on your business. This is how you organize and you structure your business in a proper way that is built for longevity, that is built with expansion in mind. And just like Danielle had said earlier, not every entrepreneur is in a position right now to have a massive team. Some are just a solopreneur, and there's nothing wrong with that. But even in that situation, you still have to operate that business with the mindset that you are going to grow, that you are going to bring on these different people to take some of
Yes.
these things off of your plate. You still need to structure your business in that way. And that kind of goes into the educating yourself, which is why I wanted to give you guys a tool that can help you with that. Read books that teach you how to do these managerial things that you need to do. What we were talking about earlier about the research and education and not needing to go completely down the rabbit hole. Yes, you do need to be surface level knowledgeable. You need to know when you are, and that just goes to, again, as Sheila had said, doing your due diligence. When you are considering hiring someone, you want to know whether or not this person is the best candidate for the position that you need. And that's something that's covered in Traction. It actually talks about best people. That's one of their seven business. There's 7 points in their model, and it's right people, right position. You need to make sure you're hiring the right position. But starting off, it's you. You are the person, and even if you are the person who has to fill in for the CEO or handling the accounting, it still needs to be done. Period. Like
Yep.
that's not in question. It's just a matter of, are you the person who's doing it or not? Just because you don't have the finances to necessarily hire a team of 10 does not mean that these duties do not need to get done. And I want to go back to something that Sheila had said about accountability. That is one of the best ways to start off, is by finding yourself an accountability partner. You would be so surprised at how much more you accomplish when somebody else knows what you're supposed to be doing. It's easy to lie to yourself. People lie to themselves all the time. But when someone else knows what you're supposed to be doing, and you know you got another meeting coming up, no one wants to look dumb on that call. Oh yeah, I'm in the same situation I was last week, girl. We're gonna try again next week. Like, no, you don't want that to be your story. So finding an accountability partner is something that I would recommend to all entrepreneurs. Actually, myself, my sister is all the way in Ohio, and she's actually my accountability partner. We actually we call them twin accountability meetings, and we literally have meetings and we go through, hey sis, what are you working on in your business? Where these are the things that I'm working on, and these are the things that I'm having issues with. And what it does two things. For one, it holds you accountable, and you've put it out there. You've made it real. You've gotten it from your head. You've put it out there into the world and made it real by telling someone else, but you never want to tell everybody, right? So find a partner. Don't just go run your mouth to random people, someone who you strategically have chosen because you know they're going to do exactly that, hold you accountable. But also it allows you to bounce those ideas off of someone else to get that feedback. A lot of times we can find ourselves, kind of hitting a wall when we're trying to do these things by ourselves. Sometimes you don't even know the first questions to ask, but it happens all the time with my sister. I'll say, hey, I'm working on this and I'm not really sure how to handle it. And lo and behold, she'll have a story or some feedback or something that I can take back to help further my educational journey and give me an idea of something that I can use to solve whatever problem I'm dealing with. So I think definitely getting yourself an accountability partner, and that doesn't have to be somebody necessarily that you pay. It can be someone who's in a circle, right? That, because a lot of times people are like, well, I don't have the money. I don't have the money for a coach. But that's an excuse, because accountability partner is just somebody around you who, if you see somebody who is on top of their stuff, ask them, hey, would you mind? I love everything that you're doing. You have some time, maybe once a week, we can get together and, we can talk about what we're working on. There are so many things. You can go on Facebook. There are so many groups. Maybe you have a circle maybe you have a circle that, you don't have a circle where there is a responsible person. Let's say you realize once you look around, all your friends, you are the smartest person in the room, because that is possible. And if that is you, that is still not a reason for you not to take action and do the things that we're saying. There are too many resources in 2022, and there will be even more that are created next year and every year beyond for you to be able to take action. So you can go join a Facebook group. There are women's groups on Facebook. There are men's groups on Facebook. There are groups for your own kind of things. Your own Facebook group. Yeah. So many ways that you can do that.
I want to circle it back, because I thought of something listening to what Johnny was saying and what everybody was saying. All of this boils down to, if you're not doing something and embarking on this journey of something that you truly enjoy, you're not going to want to do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Because if you have something that you're truly passionate about, if you're just starting a business because you think that's what you're supposed to do, or like Lachey said, somebody told you this was a good idea, so I'm going to try this. All of the things that we're saying are going to seem like roadblocks, but if you're truly passionate, you'll take these hurdles on like, okay, bet, because I know I have a dream. I know I have a vision. I know it's real. I know I can help people, or I know I can provide something that isn't being provided. And so I kind of wanted to circle it back to, because if you're not passionate about it, then everything is going to seem like a challenge in business. You just going, here goes something else. And I've seen that in businesses I've interacted with. It's like, do you even want to be here right now? And there's an effect on it, because I'm saying that because I read an article and I was trying to find it so I could quote it exactly, but the founder of Sam Adams left like a 6-figure business to start this beer company many years ago, and of course everybody thought he was crazy. But he said, if you're chasing money instead of happiness, you're a sociopath.
It's
And I take that as, happy means what's happy for you. So if you're doing something that truly makes you happy and that you enjoy it, you won't have a problem researching these things because you know it's going to further you. You know it's going to help you get better at that thing that you're passionate about. So
But I
I was
think
thinking
And I
about that when Johnny was
I
talking
think it's
about
crazy.
reading and researching. All of that comes when you passionate, like, I gotta learn this because I have to get my vision out. I need to learn a little bit of this because I need to be able to help people. So
That leads into my next question. And a couple questions down the line, it's gonna some stuff you just talked about. You kind of touched on a few of my questions.
check me out.
Now, now listen. So let me see. Let me show you guys. So our businesses, right, are pretty much our babies, right? We first launched our businesses, right?
I just told somebody
So
that today.
so what? So when did it become your destiny?
Ooh.
I wanna just point out something. Um, so one thing that doesn't get said and it doesn't get pointed out a lot is that there are a lot of successful entrepreneurs. They have multiple streams of income, meaning they worked and set up, like if you're mountain climbing, you nail in stakes along the way. So they
Yep.
may have a real estate, and I'll tell you this because I came from like the music background. So the starving artist thing, was something that yeah, either you fake it till you make it or you the starving artist. But then there were some people I saw that were like, man, it just seems like a smarter way to do it. What's it got? Black youngster. I remember, I think he did like a lot of real estate. I didn't even listen to his music, but I remember like watching the interview and it was like, yeah, I didn't enter into this industry until I had this already set up. So a lot of times the worst thing that you could possibly do is put a price tag on your passion instead of being strategic throughout life and just realizing like the money itself has nothing to do with what your passion is. Yeah, you would love to make money off of what you love to do, but at the end of the day, there are situations where people have their bills being paid by something they don't even, it's just a passive thing. They took a loan out and got an SBA loan and own a couple franchises that they're absentee owners of, but then that brings in a lot of income that then they can spend the time
Yes.
to focus on what it is they're truly excited about.
Yeah.
And that's one, because very rarely are you going to find a situation where and I'm going to say rarely, but and a lot of times it's hard for you to make that come up off of this thing that's your passion.
Yeah.
Especially like I said, I did music. So when I had to put a price tag on my music, the creativity would become lacking because now I'm thinking about my consumer, right? And there was I think it was Jimi Hendrix quote where he was talking about, the worst thing that could happen for an artist is they get praise. So what a conundrum for somebody who has a creative, passion, right? Your creativity is built off of something internal, an intrinsic value. But when you have to put a price tag on it, it becomes a conflict of interest. So I always say it behooves you. Talk to this brother Jay, get you some real estate, save up from your job, get you some
Save up
passive
from your
streams of
job. Yes.
income, so that way when you do decide to have something and you want this to be your destiny, it's not, oh, this is my destiny so I could pay my bills. Now my bills are paid regardless.
I
I'm
like
doing
that.
this because whether I mean, yeah, I would do it for free. I was doing it for free when I didn't have the money to do it.
Yeah.
But now I'm taking that same energy I had, and prayerfully it's going to be something that brings in money. But at the end of the day, your passion, what you're really trying to do, like, try to avoid putting a price tag on it as much as possible, unless you like going to the NBA or something like that. you know
Take
try
your big checks.
tr-
Yeah.
try, unless it's like that guaranteed situation, try your best to avoid it, because the worst thing you could do is have a 9 to 5 mentality on something you're truly passionate about, because that will drag you down, and your business being your baby, your destiny, these strong words of
I was just about to
attachment.
say these are really strong words. I was gonna ask you, Jay,
Yeah.
what made you pick this question? I always like questioning
Because
questions
it's
myself.
real. It's
The
real.
destiny, that's deep.
We got you talking about. Mr. Lachey was talking about. It's some things you can't really tell everybody, right?
Yeah.
You don't want nobody, talking about your baby. You know what I'm saying? Oh, this ain't gonna work or this that. So you can't tell everybody everything about what you're trying to get done, especially when it comes to business or whatever, right?
Right.
So that's
Right.
like, man, I got on this mission, and I'm like, this is where I'm supposed to be. It was like, in a sense, man, I kind of put everything to the side to really focus on it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is why I was born, to do real estate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I've been thinking about doing this all my life, man. So it was like, so when it became your destiny, like, how did that feel, though? I don't know how to put it in words, man, because it just, when I say destiny, man, just talk about this is what you're here for, right? So
Right.
your business, right? What you're doing right now, you got a passion for it. So even if you wasn't getting paid to do it, probably you'll do it to a certain extent, right? If not all the
I
way
did
what
it.
you're doing now, right?
Or
Yeah.
you were
Right.
Yeah.
So I
probably
would
doing
say
it
for
before.
me,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like the feeling itself, it's everything. But it's more so because it's hard to say or to know, like, I'm doing my destiny, right? Like, I feel like that's a difficult thing to say, but
Yeah.
it's more so knowing that I am using my God-given gifts to the best of my ability. And that feeling is everything. And I'm actually financially rewarded for doing those things well. Like, that's a very
But
rewarding
Yeah.
if
feeling.
you was using those gifts, isn't that your destiny, right?
And for me,
Exactly. So that's why I say, like, because sometimes people think destiny, like, wow, like they said, that's a big word, right?
yeah,
Like,
that's a big one.
that's like,
Yeah.
dang. But I get what you're saying, though, because, like, for me, when I was working a 9 to 5, I felt, like I was using my gifts and it was really great. But there was something about the freedom that came along with doing it as an entrepreneur. I'm still using my gift, but that combination of freedom and control did make me feel like I am kind of living my destiny. Like, I never felt like my destiny was to work a 9 to 5. My destiny wasn't to make somebody else rich. That was never, my goal or my plan. But I think to kind of bring it all together, what everyone is saying, I think that as an entrepreneur, to a certain extent, you have to be of two minds. You have to understand that running a business and having a passion are two different things. And you have to be able to put on one hat and take off the other. When you are
That's my
making
next question. That's
decisions,
crazy.
good.
You gotta go through one question. Go ahead. That's deep.
Smart bunch with you, Jay.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
I do my question. I kind of do them in a way that's in order, and y'all knocking them all down. Go ahead.
I mean, because they're all related, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't have one without the other. So it just shows you did a really great job with, thinking of these questions and making those connections. You can't have a passion and then try to make it a business, but you're only focused on it being a passion. You're not going to make any money. And to some people, that may be the whole point. Every passion you have is not meant to be a business. I love art and crafts. I don't love it enough to make it a job. I really don't. I'm going to be honest about that. That's something that I'm going to do when I need to rest my mind and I have some downtime, and that's what it's for. So I want to make that key distinction that just because it is your passion doesn't mean that that's your destiny to make that into your full-time job,
Yep.
I think
Yep.
you want to make that very clear. But when I say you have to be able to wear those two hats, you have to be able to make data-driven decisions on what makes the most sense from a business perspective, what it is that you're doing. The purpose of a business is to make money. That's the
Yep.
purpose. It's to pay the bills. Like, at the end of the day, we all have bills. We all have to eat. We all need to get from point A to point B, and usually you can't do that for free. So the purpose of a business is to make money, and you need to be of that mind and find opportunities in the market. And that's why I think it's more important to cater to your strengths, but also know what your weaknesses are. Because let's say if the financing side is not really your strong suit, then yeah, you need to consult with someone else or bring someone else in to accommodate that. And that's making sound business decisions based off of your strengths and your weaknesses. But if your passion is the business, you need to also be able to take that hat off and put your whole heart behind into the creation of whatever product or service that you are doing. You need to be able to, have set aside some time literally on your calendar for creativity, to write down ideas, to revisit some of your old
Important.
ideas. You need
Important
to
to do that.
actively, do these things, and not just when you find time. Make time. If
Yeah.
your passion is a part of it, you need to, because you don't want to lose the passion behind it.
Yeah.
And I find that it's very difficult to, like, for me, I actually really like doing, graphic design and websites and creating content for clients, but because that is a part of my passion, sometimes I get a little too much into it and I have to, pull myself back. Hey, it's not a good business decision for me to spend 16 hours on this because I'm actually only paid for 5. So I have to set aside the right amount of time that I need to, and then give it my full creativity during that time, So just being scheduled really helps. And I know it sounds weird to say put these things on your schedule, but it really actually helps. At least for me, it helps. I write down time for brainstorming because I'm a person who will be on Pinterest, who will be on Instagram just thinking of 1,000 ideas, but I never go back to them. But whenever I started setting aside time and actually going through all of those things and letting my creative juices go, I find that my products are better. My service offerings are better. I'm able to communicate what it is that I do better because I set aside time for that. When I want to learn a new skill, I set aside time for that. But no one understands that you're running a business and it needs to make money. So you also have to set aside time for that. And I always hate when I see people who just focus solely on one or the other. They are so focused on the business that they're giving complete crap, or they're so focused on the creative aspect that they end up going out of business because they never spent time on things like marketing, because they didn't take the time to know their financing of their business. So they didn't know if they were making money or breaking even or losing money, and now they're in debt and they have no idea how they got there. So have both of those hats, but dedicate time to both.
And understand that you're gonna have to take if what you're doing is your passion, at some point in time, the compromise is gonna involve you taking your ego out of the situation, because there's very likely that a data-driven point, a key performance indicator, could go completely against whatever your creative morals are. And I speak on the music side of things. I'm gonna keep going back because I spent a good time as an engineer, but I saw so many people who were extremely talented, but were like, yeah, but if I want to get signed, I got to make this song, and this is the sound that's necessary, and I got to get this. And even though I made this song, and it's like, dude, that's the thing that's most transformative. That's awesome. But they're making decisions based on hard data, and I couldn't argue with that. But
Right.
there were those people that got put in a conundrum because it's like, well, I am good at this. I do want to do it. I could make that, but that just doesn't feel right. So you got to be very careful and know if what that thin line is. Some things are meant to be released. Some things are meant, like in my case, I got into the financial services aspect of things because I was like, well, first it was really just a goal for myself. It was really, how can I what do I how can I put myself and my family in the best position? And then it became, okay, this stuff really works. This is awesome. Now I can make a living out of helping people, just sharing the knowledge that I already have. And after I share it, then hey, how do we set it up? How do we do it? So it's not something, it is a passion, but it wasn't in the same capacity that it was a release for me. And I think being able to discern the two, that goes back into that whole planning side. What am I, when I'm getting into this thing, really think about it. Really, really think about it, because it's not a decision that needs to be made lightly. So if you really find yourself in a position to where you may have an issue, or it's going to affect your productivity or you making money, then maybe it shouldn't be a business. But if you can get past that, then that is something to say, all right, well, this bump may come. I'll deal with it with this strategy, but then I'll still do this for my own, whatever the case is. So just know that when you're getting into business.
Absolutely. All right. So we got another good one for you guys. All right, let's think deep about this, right? So how many people have you lost or let down trying to grow your business? Let me see who will keep it real.
You know,
Monster.
you gonna be
Man.
keeping count?
That's the question.
So how many
Right. Well,
people
I
have you
can say
lost
that
or
I don't
let down?
necessarily have a count, but I can definitely say that I have turned down even paying clients because what they wanted for their bit, we just weren't a good fit for each other. They weren't, companies that were willing to put in the work, and I can't be more passionate about your business than you
And
are,
you are.
right? Like I
Yeah.
can't, if it gets to the point where I am the creative, the business, the marketing, the everything, in the time that takes, realistically, you can't afford it, first off.
Um,
But but
You speaking my soul right now. I done ran
here,
into a couple of
but
those.
also like it's not effective. There are so many more people who need my services who can benefit from the knowledge that I have, and I can't really live my truth and do my calling if I'm dedicating all my time to this one person. And it's mighty funny how usually the people who ask for a little something called discount are mainly those people who cause the majority of the issues and suck up the majority of your time. So I would say probably as many discounts as I've given are people that that I had to just cut my losses with, trying to do free services just to genuinely help and wanting to help them, but they had a different interpretation of what that relationship would look like, and it was not a good fit. So I think for me, it's whenever knowing my core values, my core goals, what I'm trying to accomplish with my business. Anybody that goes against that, they can move to the left. That's pretty much how I
Salute.
Michelle,
Salute.
what was the question again? I can't see the question, but what was the question?
Oh, yeah. So how many people have you lost or let down trying to grow your business?
Well, I think that, I mean, I went through this as a hairdresser. When I was a hairdresser, whenever I would scale, I lost customers because you have to realize as a business owner that there is just going to be certain people who are willing to pay a certain price for a certain product. And that's on the low side and the high side. So when I was a hairdresser, I definitely lost a lot of people because I started to scale my prices. But in the meantime, I picked up clients. And I think the same as a coach. When I went from therapy to a coach, I lost people because of scaling. I stopped taking insurance and I started to take, fee for service. And some people just was like, well, my insurance paid for that. So I'm not gonna go out my pocket and pay for it. So I think that whenever we scale our business, you're gonna lose a portion of your people, as you start to grow.
Facts.
and be,
That's
and that's and you have to be okay with that. And I think I learned that as a hairdresser because you build relationships with people, and like Lachey said, like a lot of times you like, well, you can still pay me this or whatever. You know what I mean? But you're grown. You've grown. My skills had developed, and I was in a different niche of people, and those people who are willing to pay a certain price for a product on the low side or the high side, they have made their decision, and you have to be willing to let them go and
And
and get the people who are willing to know your value and pay for your product.
and I think that plays into the launching phase of losing the people that can't support you or don't, or that drag that are trying to wear you down, where the feedback is not constructive, it's only negative and whatnot. Like those, they the first ones to go. But and you can, you may not burn the bridge, but you may create the boundaries where it's like, okay, just like how we said a couple times, I'm not going to tell you about what I'm doing. I put you in this bucket. You are just this friend. I talk to you about this. I'm not going to talk to you about my business, because every time I talk to you about my business, it's negativity, negativity, negativity. And that's not what anybody needs as they're trying to launch. Because, I work with a lot of people that are getting ready to take that jump, and they realize like the circles you in ain't the right circles. Because like she said, we talked about accountability partners, and but there's also people that drag you down, and those are going to be the first ones because it's not going to promote growth.
Amen. Amen. I I'll even just speak, just piggyback on what everyone said. So mine has happened not somewhat with clients, a lot of times more so with business partners or people that I work with. So I'm in the insurance space, and my philosophy with life insurance is completely different than a lot of people's, because I'll show you how to use a life insurance policy like a credit card. uh, we'll be running loans out of that thing when in the second month. Not necessarily a situation where a lot of people that I've worked with are big on, oh, let's get term. And these are just specific instances where it's like, man, you're not doing your client a service because you're not willing to do the due diligence to learn how this, because this is a very like knowledge related. So you have to understand how these products work in order to provide exceptional value to your clients. And usually that comes with unorthodox views, like, let's put as much money as we possibly can inside of this thing. Well, I won't get it back then. Yes, you will. You'll get it right back. But people, sometimes it's people really don't have the belief. They don't, their belief isn't big enough to understand that maybe a situation could be better. You may think there's a lot of times people, us in our community have this, oh, if it's too good to be true, if it's too
Yeah,
good to be true. Look, I just want to say this, and know this is not about race, but I'm just saying this from an aspect of, I've been in a lot of rooms with a bunch of old rich white guys, and I'm telling you, yes, too good to be true does
doesn't.
exist in a lot of different forms.
A
I'm gonna
lot
tell
of
you.
different
It
I,
in
forms.
a
I rock with you, bro. It's
It,
crazy you said that, man, because I feel you on that, bro. I feel you.
so that
I
that
say,
in itself is so many people who won't get that, and they won't accept, be like, nah, that can't happen, or you can't do. Nah, you can. It's
and there are
possible.
people doing
it's
it. That's
possible.
my
It's
biggest
people
thing,
doing
is
it.
if I
And
can
the
show
people
you
know.
proof
Yeah,
that,
man.
that's why I'm real big on examples. Like, I can show you proof that somebody has done this. So why don't you believe that it is possible? And that's where that line starts to get drawn, because if you say that and that person continues to
Yeah.
argue and dispute, okay, to the
You gotta
left.
keep it moving.
I literally had a conversation where this guy told me, he said what I do was a scam, and it was overfunding a life insurance policy according to what the company allows, and getting a specialized trust, right? This was just the simple aspect of it. And he was like, well, where is that worked out? And I was like, Disney World. Didn't that Walt Disney take a loan out of his policy to help kickstart things? Didn't he purchase the land where Disneyland is at right now, in a land trust and a
Okay.
specialized spendthrift trust? I'm pretty sure that these things happen. So there's some people who literally, they'll spend so much time. Well, they have this thing in their mind where, like, they've made progress an enemy. They've made anything that looks like the ideal situation an enemy, or there has to be some type of catch to it. And those are a lot of people that I've had to shed on my journey, because I'm like, man, if I hang around you, I'm gonna block a lot of my own blessings. So I
Amen.
I just can't even do it.
That's true.
Interesting
Wow.
because I probably about 4 years into business, I had wrote this book, and it's called The Dream That Broke Me Down to Stand Me Up. And it was just that. It was like I had this dream, and it was breaking me down, trying to get people to believe in me, to invest in me, to be okay with me leaving my corporate job. I mean, I had got diagnosed with migraine headaches and everything. And that dream broke me down only to stand me up in my truth, that I know something that you don't know. And I need to stand in this thing that I know that's right for me. And that let a lot of people down, but it stood me up so firm in the thing that I knew that I was created to do. So I'm glad you shared that, because I do think that, when we go on this venture, we have information and access to information that everybody don't have. And we have to hone into that and know that that's true for us. Like Danielle said, we have to know we have examples, we have seen it done, and whether you want to believe it or not, I know this thing could be done. And they say the proof is in the pudding.
Amen. I can show you
All
better
right.
than I can tell you.
Yes.
So, all right. So the next question is, guys, is what do you do to make sure your business isn't taking over your life? That's entrepreneurs, right? All we know is go. That's
Right.
all we know is go. So
I
how do
think
you
For
You
me,
stop.
it's what you said, what I said earlier about setting boundaries and scheduling. That's what helps me. I set time for everything that I need to do in life, and that way I'm not robbing my personal life or my business life. And there's something that I started earlier in the year that I found most effective. It's the 6 hour day, which is a concept where instead of looking at a day as 24 hours, you look at a day as 6 hours. So you essentially have 4 days in one. So I would schedule a work day, and I'm working from 6 to 12 and I'm doing nothing but work for clients. Then from 12 to 6, I'm working on my personal business stuff. And then I'm done at 6, and the whole rest of the day is for just me to enjoy life and do whatever. And granted, I'm working more than just a set 9 to 5, but the amount of productivity and knowing what my personal goals are, which is something that I want to make clear too. Don't let anybody else determine what your projections are, in the sense that you let them stifle you, because a lot of times I would get feedback like, oh, you're already doing enough, like you don't really need to do anything else, you're already doing so much, why would you start that other business, why would you take on that other venture? But I know me, and I know what I can do, and I know what my goals are. So, don't let that kind of feedback get into your head. I have my real estate license. I haven't done anything with it. So I'm going to cram what would normally take a year in 6 months when it comes to my business, get it running on autopilot so I can move on to the next thing. So I personally am willing to put that 6 hours, because realistically, I'm only putting 6 hours into the growth of my business. And I've spent 6 hours dedicated to client work. And I still have an additional 6 hours that I can spend with family if I want to go out to movies. And I don't feel guilty. When I schedule that way, I know there's a time and a place for everything. So for me, it was like a transformative mindset, because before that, I used to, if I went out with a friend, I would be stressed because I'm like, crap, I got this deadline and I got to do this and I didn't do that. But by having that type of a schedule, I'm free. When I'm out with my friends, I'm out with my friends. If I'm out with my family, I'm out with my family, and there is no work. I'm not thinking about work. I'm not touching work. I'm not anything. Why? Because I know tomorrow, I'm not a doctor, right? No one's literally going to die because I didn't answer an email. So tomorrow is a day, and I can get those things done. So for me, that's what I do to create those boundaries. And I do that even with clients. And that's kind of like one of the positive things of being an entrepreneur, because you can determine your client contractor relationship. You set the tone for what that relationship looks like. So if you don't want your clients calling you at 2 a.m., stop answering the phone. Stop responding to them at those hours. You have to set hours. And thank you. If you don't want to work on weekends,
They used to have to be a lot.
respond. Right. And that's same for me. When I first started, it was bad. I was terrible at setting boundaries, because a lot of my first clients were people who I knew on a personal level. That's a whole nother story about working with people who versus when you do proper prospecting to find the people who are best clients for your business. But I was working a lot with people who I knew on a personal level. And, so they would feel comfortable. They have my personal cell phone number. So they're calling and text, hey, I had this idea. And they just got to the point where I had to say, you know what? It's boundary time. It's time to set proper boundaries. And that's what led me on the path to finding a better way of coping, finding a better way of dealing, finding a better way of creating balance. And that's when I found the 6 hour day as like the epitome of everything that I have been trying, because I'm very much so a person, like, whenever I try to do small time blocking, I'm always over on time. Like I'm just always over on that time. That 1 hour would definitely become 3. But for me, it's just bad. But it was something about calling it a day, and it's a 6 hour day. Like, I'm not gonna, let it go into a whole nother day. Like, this is time. 6 hours is more than enough time to dedicate to a client project, even if I'm taking breaks, because I may only be working, for 20 hours the whole month with the client. So 6 hours at one set time, that's actually a lot of work. So I think setting your boundaries and then enforcing your boundaries if we're talking about client work. But I think that's even true when it comes to working a 9 to 5. And I think people can't be scared to ask that those boundaries that the company has set in place are enforced. And the best way to do that is to stop responding. If you are good at your job, you're 9 times out of 10 not going to get fired because you didn't answer a 12 o'clock at night email. You have to just learn
Well,
how
I
to.
think you make a good point, Lachey. The first thing I heard you say was
Oh
Sheila, you went
no,
out.
he went out.
Sheila, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
She probably gonna pop back in me. We drop her down and bring her back.
Okay.
Sheila, you there? Maybe she froze. Let's see if she comes back.
Danielle, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that? I know you got some skills on how you keep balance.
Oh no, I'm trash. But no, I'm finding my way. I love that 6 hour, but no, the planning. It's exactly what you said. I'm not as tight as I probably need to be. I'm still growing, and I admit that. But I know I do block time because I think I talked to Jay about it. Like I like doing my yard work, and that is a passion that I don't want to get paid for, but I enjoy doing it. So it's that clear, I think that was good that we brought that up, the difference between things you want to get paid for and the things you don't want to get paid for, because, the things that you don't want to get paid for, those are, important to you and keep you grounded and helps you not let your business take over. But I had to set time aside. So I said, okay, during this time frame, this is when I do this. This is when I cut it off because I'll go back. I pride myself as being the example of a corporate indentured servant. Yeah, they don't. You have to. I love that you said that, Lachey, because you have to establish boundaries. That's part of what drove me away from the corporate world. Once I became a manager, and they act like they can't do nothing without you. So I'm getting calls 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, Saturday, Sunday. What took me over the edge was conference meetings on a Sunday. Like, ain't nothing.
Right.
I'm not a doctor. I was not a doctor.
Right.
Nobody's
Right.
going to die. Like, why
Right.
do you have 5, 6 people on the phone on Sunday? So I think it's very important. It's exactly what you said. Setting those boundaries in your life, because the beauty of it is exactly what you said. You make the schedule.
Yeah, man.
If you're working from 9 to 5, if you're doing client stuff from 8 p.m. to midnight, that's on you. Depending on the business that you have, if you have an e-commerce business or something like that, you create your product in the middle of the night. You may work from 1 in the morning to 5 in the morning doing stuff. If you're a writer or something like that, you can make your own schedule. But I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to the word schedule. You have to schedule it.
Yeah.
And
Whether
really,
it's
more
very
productive. When
or
you
very
do that type of time blocking, you're more productive during the time that you set aside. Like if you
more
say
effective.
that
Yes.
I forget what the theory it's called, but there's a theory that basically you will fill however much time you allowed it. So if you say, I'm going to work on this client proposal and I need to have it done by 3 o'clock, but it's 9 o'clock, it's going to take you from 9 to 3 to get that done. If you say, I need to finish this client proposal, I've got 2 hours, magically you will get it done in those 2 hours, whatever time that you allow, which is why it's better to block off smaller bite-sized portions of time than just and I think that's kind of what it did for me, instead of having a to-do list, because my to-do list is never ending, which I'm really addicted to it. I still have one. I've got like a to-do list that started off as like 10 items. At this point, it's probably like 102. But I take that. I take that because that's my brain dump, essentially.
Yes.
And I'll take that and I take out, okay, so out of this list, what are the top like 5 things that really need to be done? 3 for clients, 2 for me. And then I block off time for each individual task. Magically, I get it done. Whenever I just have a list and I say, okay, today I'm just going to work from 9 to 5 and I'm just going to work on this stuff, I feel overwhelmed. I spent like 6 hours of that time just on Google researching stuff. watching videos. So I've gone looking up quotes and different things and spending all this extra time on visuals. And now the list hasn't gone anywhere. So I want people to know that this is, like actually reading a book on productivity, reading a book on how to, accomplish tasks. There's a book called Eat That Frog. I forget the author, but I'm pretty sure it's not a whole lot of books named Eat That Frog. So it's one of the top sellers. So you should be able to find it. And that's one of those books that really helps with, being more productive. It talks about doing the most difficult tasks, doing the most, whatever will move the needle furthest for you mentally. We usually see that as the most daunting, the most difficult, and the thing we put off the most. But by doing that, you're stunning your growth. Instead, we do a lot of like feel good tasks that we can get done in a couple of minutes. We're going to answer a couple of emails. We're going to send a couple of texts. We're going to work on a singular post. But what you really need to do was call that high potential prospect that you met at the networking event yesterday. That's what you really needed to do. So looking at your to-do list and prioritizing the things that will move the needle furthest for you, tackling that first will progress your business along so much faster and give you more time to spend on your personal life and with your friends and family. Because a lot of times we think small and we're focused on getting a bunch of little clients. But if you can take down a couple of big clients, and then, there's no rule that says you have to work a 40-hour work week. There's no rule that says that in order for you to make a lot of money. There is a rule that says you have to be efficient and strategic. It's called the Lachey rule now, because I don't know any other name for it.
Branded trademark coming soon.
But you just have to be efficient with your time, period. That's it. Just be efficient, be effective, use your time, use your resources, because sometimes people will, to get themselves more time, they'll hire or outsource to other people, but then they micromanage. What's the point of hiring somebody if you go micromanage?
Just had that conversation today.
It's a problem. It really is a problem. So, if you do hire a team and you bring on people, let them do their job. Let them do their job.
And you train them properly first. Right. That was part of my conversation. Don't set them up for failure and then get mad and then you micromanage.
You definitely have to train. Yes. Train and or make sure you're working with professionals, which is something that we talked about earlier, and doing your due diligence when you hire someone, because that comes up a lot with like social media marketers. People would just hire somebody because they said algorithm, and clearly that means you know what you're talking about. If you know what an algorithm is, clearly you know how to manage my campaign.
I need you to put that on a shirt. Let's
I want to speaking of like algorithms or like systems. That's really one of the biggest things I really would want to like bring into this is like there are certain things that like tasks that are repeatedly done. Record yourself doing these tasks.
Right.
If you write them down in a sequential step-by-step basis. So now if you do need to bring someone else to do it, you already have written down
your procedure,
your procedure, how you like things to be done in detail if you like to have that.
Right.
But you have it put down in a place to where now when I want to bring someone on, the communication barrier is not, I got to take this idea that's clouded around in my head and now I have to figure out how to no, you already did. You translated the core aspect of it, the meat and potatoes. This is the task that need to be done. This is first we start with this, second we go with this, third with this, maybe some side steps in that third step.
But even if they lose it, right? Let's say the information that you tell them, they may I forgot what you said, but now they can look at the video again.
Google Documents. There's a video, boy. We can share documentation. If you delete it and accidentally somehow, we can send it again.
That's true.
Right. And I think that's really important too, because even if you are using, like, if it's something that someone else is doing, you can have them make a video of their process, make a video of the steps that they do. And I always say, use the PB&J method. So imagine if you were writing instructions for making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You want to be specific. First, you're going to open up the loaf of bread, then you're going to take out 2 pieces of bread, then you're going to get a knife. Write down step by step. But that's the beauty of video, is that a person has the ability to visually see step by step. Think about it. You're already doing these things. All you have to do is just turn on a screen share, record your process, done. Now, if you want to be fancy and go the extra step and get it dictated, there are people who you can hire on tons of outsourcing sites that can translate that into a written document that goes step by step. So then if you do have to fire somebody because they're maybe not the right fit for that particular position, the process for bringing on someone who is in a good position, in a good fit for that position, they already know everything that they need to. They have all their tools and resources. And like Danielle said, you're giving them their best chance at success. You never want to set anybody up for failure. You don't want to just throw them out there and say, hey, sink or swim, right? There are some people who will rise to the occasion, but those people are few and far in between. And just because somebody doesn't necessarily have that particular set of skills of sink or swim does not mean that they can't be rock stars, right? So give your people the best chance of success, and like Johnny said, create systems.
Yes, because again, from the corporate world, because I had to chime in because that was literally my career, was managing procedures. That is what, because I always like to bring that back, because yes, we're talking to small businesses, but I would assume and I would hope that one day you want to be a big business. So I like to provide some of the insight. I don't know what you guys have background, but Lord knows I spent way too long in that side. But they're built off of processes, schedules, procedures, because you have to have that in your mind that you're not always going to have the same people doing it. So,
Right.
and to bring it back to the original question, so you don't lose yourself. If you lose somebody, what happens if you lose that team member? I just had a conversation today where I was talking to somebody. It's like, oh, I love my VA. I'm like, so what happens if they get pregnant and they decide they don't want to do this anymore? What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I gotta find. How long is it gonna take you to transition? How much of a dip are you gonna have? And what's the succession plan? What's the plan? So but whether you have it or at least just get you thinking about that. But the procedures and the processes, that is the foundations of so many big companies, and so you can't lose sight of that even when you're in the small phase documenting. And that's the beauty, because even big corporations are going to video training, video procedures. So I think Johnny hit it on the head. Yes, record yourself, because especially so much is, maybe you're working on multiple screens or things like that. But I think that was a good hack.
That's exactly what I do on my Patreon. So a lot of stuff I do as far as the real estate is concerned. So my Patreon account, and it's basically sharing the screen. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it. This is what you should do. Step all the way through the whole process. It makes a lot of sense though. So if let's say I just say I want my system to do this. Here's the video. Let's do this. You got any questions? Give me a call. Look at the video.
Then you can package and sell that, because I know people that actually sell those things.
That's
next level. That's next level.
You said it didn't? Is that what you said?
No, I'm saying there are people that sell those systems and those processes and those procedures that help you get started.
They said something about something about indenting or something like that. Like you got a whole system you try to put together and you want somebody to type it up or whatever.
No, I'm saying that. What?
You talking about dictation? Like when you talk about
yeah. But now, so talking about using technology, now they even have AI technology that can actually take the video. You just upload the video into the system. It will pull out all of the words using that video. Then you just have to go through and read,
edit, and make
and verify. Exactly, read. Just go through and read and make sure everything makes sense. And I'll take it a step further. There is now even programs that will tie that to the video. And when you take out certain words, it can actually remove it from the video too, cutting down your editing time. So I think the point of that is just utilizing technology, like systems, but also technology. There are so many new things that are being created. There's a website that I absolutely love called AppSumo. that it's really for kind of like the creative side, but it's just kind of where new technology goes first to kind of build a buzz about them. So a lot of things that we use very commonly now, I think like Asana started off on there, and now that's like a big program that people use for their to-do list and project management. But that's a place that I go to find out kind of like, so what is possible, what are new things, that are out there, because sometimes you don't know if you don't know. So that's a place where I go, and I'm always surprised at some new AI program that they have that before you used to have a person to do that. And that's not, I don't believe necessarily that we're going to get to the place where we just don't need people, because we do. We need the human emotion, the human brain to a certain extent for some aspects, but where it makes sense, you need to utilize it.
How do
Let
you
me drop
spell
some
that
game. Let me
website?
drop some game real quick because I said this a couple weeks back, and I want everybody to look up once again a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. So what's gonna happen in the very near future, because we may be talking to small business owners, but at the end of the day, I'm always going to point to the big businesses because that's usually where the trends follow. Um, Amazon has robots in their warehouse. Tesla had to dial back because they had too much automation because they were trying to jump steps apparently, and it messed up their
Correct.
processes. In Tennessee some months back, Walmart started trying to, I think they were trying to implement driverless trucks.
They're doing that now.
So they're
Yeah.
doing that now. So here's the thing. That's on the service side. We see the robots cleaning up the little janitorial side of things, self checkout. What's going to happen with the DAOs is that they're going to be using blockchain for management solutions. So whereas a manager's job is okay, I need to make sure this is done, and as soon as this is done, I'm connecting dots. They're going to have an algorithm on the blockchain, and this is something that a lot of these companies are heavily invested in. It's a thing called the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance. I may have those two backwards, but this is comprised of Shell, Microsoft, IBM. These are companies that heavily invested in Ethereum and blockchain solutions that are going to literally streamline operations, remove people from key positions. Like there is a lot of displacement that's going to happen. I say this to say, and the same reason Lachey mentioned it is do the research on these things because the only constant in life is change. You may get so caught up now, Jay, soon houses they're selling rights to houses on blockchain. They're
Absolutely.
selling digital real estate. People are buying their neighbors'
I tell them
digital.
on a real estate podcast too. They're
So
definitely doing it, bro.
there's one thing that I want to add to that, and I think that's a really great point. And you definitely taught me something new about how far some companies are going when it comes to integrating that. I think I want to add just to it that the point is the opportunity that provides.
Yes.
Yes, it is replacing people in specific tasks, but it is also creating new opportunities for people to do other tasks. Somebody's got to create that technology. Somebody's got to maintain that technology. Somebody's got to sell that technology to someone else. Somebody has to figure out how to use it and
Somebody
reapply it
has to
somewhere
use it.
else.
Let it be
Right.
used.
So I think there's, for the most part, going to be some aspect of human involvement, but the way that humans are involved, that is going to shift. But it's important to be a forward thinker. Okay, if this stuff is happening with blockchains when it comes to maybe corporate, how can I, in some way, shape, or form, integrate that in my business? Is there a way for me to be an early adopter and utilize that technology to simplify a process within my business? And then all of a sudden you're making corporate money with a small business simply because you saw opportunity in a new technology.
Even in investing, if we see that the world is going that way, why are we not investing in it now?
Look, to
Right,
my
right,
CDL
Different
owner
companies right now,
operators,
right?
to all the people getting in the logistics and the trucking industry, I said that specifically a lot of because I deal with people who that are in denial. But the truth is a lot of jobs are going to get replaced. You could be the person complaining about your job or your business went down, or you could be the person who strategically put themselves in a position to where, yeah, I own about 2 or 3 trucks that are automated trucks, and I lease them out to these companies and this, that, and we handle it on that end.
But
You
this is
can
but this
go
is the
ahead.
reason why that Uber snuck in there and took the yellow cab out of there. They
Oh
didn't think
yeah.
that was gonna happen. Now look, now when last time you call a yellow cab, bro? You know what I'm saying? Do they still exist? I haven't seen
They
it.
they still out there.
They still
2013,
But Uber got
It's
2000,
like house phones. House phones
2013 in
are
Las
out there.
Vegas.
yeah. They
2013
still
in
got a
Vegas is the
household.
last time I had a yellow cab.
See,
Exactly,
but
bro.
so that's the last time you had one. But realistically, though, they are still around, and that's
Oh
kind of
yeah.
one thing that I want to highlight too. Because when you think about social media for a lot of people, like that's life. But like there was a
No, it's
day when
not.
Facebook went down. So then what, right?
Then
So
what?
you can't rely, even when you are involved in technology. Don't put all your eggs into just one basket, because
Diversify.
people who had an email list and were involved in email marketing, they didn't have any effects at all when Facebook went down, because that technology can go down at any given time. So I think it's important to, again, make sure you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, but also there are also going to people, just like how they're early adopters, there are super late adopters. Don't you know people who still haven't figured out Facebook properly? We all see bad posts. We all have somebody who just, my
Me?
dad, it's so crazy. So my granddad uses the mess out of social media. My dad, he's like that, the Facebook thing.
The book
Like,
face. The
and
book
FaceTime.
face.
he's
The book
young, but
face.
he
The book
The book
just,
face.
face.
the book face, yeah. He just refuses. My mom calls everything the internet, the Instaweb. That's what she calls it, the Instaweb. So, but she actually like is picking up because she like loves YouTube and she learns a lot of different things from that. But there are people who adopt at different levels. So again, it's all about seeking opportunity where, there is a problem, because those are people who need to be served, and there may be a way that you can help this information come to them, bring the marketplace to
And
them.
on Sheila's behalf, I'll take it back to, I think we said it, but just to reiterate it, it goes back to having the open mind and having that capacity to realize this ain't working. I need to do something else, or this ain't working. There's got to be a better way. And I have to
Right.
believe there's a better way. And I see there's a better way. So, how, Facebook, for example, I see these ads. How are they doing that?
Right.
You reverse engineer, try to figure that out, but you have to be open to it, because you can't see a Facebook ad. Oh, they got millions of dollars. I can't do a Facebook ad.
Mm.
Right.
That's not an open mind, and it's not going to get you that far. So I think all of that, it comes down to,
To you. It comes down to, I mean, I think I've said this a million times, man. Kobe Bryant was my favorite basketball player outside of myself when I played. Uh, yeah, hey, I'm sorry if you don't believe in yourself. I don't know what to tell you, but
look for the
but
tapes.
but but I respect it, and it was a big motivation for me, because when you see people like, he was the dedication to putting in the work,
Yes.
to even if it comes down to what can I get out of a picture. When I saw this man literally say, I was watching a magazine, reading a magazine, and I was looking at how his feet were positioned in a still picture, and I'm picking up information from that. Like, that's what let me know there's literally no excuse. So it out of everything that gets said, I still want everybody to remember this is all going to boil down to you, and you looking at yourself in the mirror, you saying, "All right, I'm going to do it." The best advice means literally nothing if you don't choose to apply it.
Amen.
All right.
Drop the mic.
Yes, sir. So I got one more. This is my last question here, though, and then we have a
Okay.
quote as well. So now we see this. I think this is gonna be kind of deep here. What does money represent? I misspelled represent.
I'm about to say, represent.
What does money represent to you?
Oh, that's, look, you getting
So
deep.
for me, money represents just a tool, right? Money is not happiness. Money is a tool that can be used to accomplish certain tasks. And that's something that I feel like I have been growing to accomplish in my life, to obtain that mindset, because I feel like so much of society is so focused on money, 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 and just having a six-figure job, or having a six-figure client, or closing a six-figure deal. It's just so everywhere with just pop culture. But realistically, those things aren't happiness. And if you focus on money as the thing that will make you happy, you'll never be happy. If you focus on money as the only thing, the only importance in your business, that's how you end up giving out bad products. and then you end up having a pitfall of, you know, less longevity as the word gets out there, that your product doesn't match the money that they've actually spent, and now you've lost customers. So I think it's best to view money as just that, a tool, and then know where you want to use this tool. So I think that's something that Johnny was talking about earlier, how sometimes people will often say, oh, I I don't really see how I can invest this money into this new thing. I've never heard of that. I don't think it works. But when you view money as a tool, it's okay to let it go. You'll get
Yes.
more. You
I
know,
like that.
it's not you. It doesn't define you. It's a tool, and this is an opportunity, and you can take advantage of this opportunity, and just make sure you do your research. So I think it's important to not identify ourselves with money and utilize it as a tool.
Wow. Facts, man. What I
I like
mean,
that.
what we said behind
Uh,
that?
I mean, I guess all right. So I'll say, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
Go for
Okay.
it.
It's
Why you here?
value. It's literally value. It's you know, the truth of the matter is yeah, it's a simple piece of paper. It's no different than these sticky notes. But at the end of the day, if I were to go outside and say, man, whoever the first person to give me an apple, a green apple, gets $100. I wonder how many people would just be like, man, it's an apple. I can go eat quickly, go buy an apple for $1 at 7-Eleven and just flip that. So it's value. It gets things done. I really think for a lot of people, like my job, what I do is I try to alleviate people's money problems. That's one of the big things in business that people get into it and they forget about that really you did get into you started this business so that way you could be profitable and you could live the type of life that you wanted to live. It's not the end all be all. That house isn't the end all be all, but being able to have your family in an environment that they enjoy being in and that you don't feel like you need to escape from is priceless. It that 500,000 for that house, if that's the size house that's perfect for your family, you know, that's the value for you. Um, but I genuinely think that the big thing comes to like managing money, especially when it comes to our community. Uh, managing, we none of us, I don't think have ever had a problem making money. I don't think that that's ever really an issue
No.
within our community is making money. But in the sense that it's a tool, it needs to be managed. If you
Right.
have a lawnmower, it needs to be serviced every now and then. You need to
It need to
make
be
sure it's oil
maintained, monitored.
maintained.
Yes.
Um, and the truth be told, your money could literally work for you if you strategically change your mindset about it. You realize that it doesn't become a thing where I'm just gonna go broke. No, there are so many different situations that may seem too good to be true. I literally am helping a 25-year-old retire at 45. I'm helping a 25-year-old retire, set up his retirement so that way at 45 he can choose whether he still wants to work or not.
Mhm.
These are just things that like I think that once you change your mindset, and that's how he wanted to change his mind. Look, I don't want to wait till 65 and enjoy the last couple years.
Right.
I want to have the option to do it. And if I do still work, it's because it's bringing fulfillment. But
Yeah.
outside of that, if I want to get up and go travel, I want to go eat where I want to eat. I want to take my mom on a cruise. I want to do whatever this is. I have the tool to provide that whatever value in exchange because Caribbean cruise ain't gonna accept goodwill. American Airlines does not care about you trying to care. I want to taste my mama birthday. They don't care. Pay for the ticket. So at the end of the day, it's all gonna boil down. It's a real thing, but at the same time, is what is my mindset to it? How can I like Lachey said, how can I take this tool, let it work for me, and then not have to dictate my life by whether or not I have it. I know I have it. I've
Yeah.
set myself up for success and made smart moves so that way I know I have it. I know it's managed properly. I don't have to worry about shelter. I don't have to worry about food. I don't have to worry about transportation. And you'd be surprised how easy your life becomes when those three things aren't
Sure.
necessary, when they're not a worry anymore. You become
Yeah.
a whole different person.
Absolutely. Well, mine I think it represents to me, right, is opportunity, right, and
I like
protection,
that.
Yeah.
right. You have the opportunity to do kind of what you want to do, You know what I'm saying? If you had money, right? If you don't have no money, your opportunities is slim to none a lot of times, right? And for protection, if something comes up to where you need something done, man, you can, the money will take care of it a lot of times, right? So yeah, let's say you come down, God, forbid you come out with an illness or whatever, where they can do the surgery on you that costs X amount of dollars. And if you got it, that can protect you and also ultimately save your life. But if you don't, you're in a bad situation. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it's kind of representing to me, man. Opportunity and protection.
And I feel like it changes too, because once you learn more about money, it represents something different to you. Because I know once I started making more money, and it was, I just wanted to share, like, when I always thought like certain things just cost so much. When you grow up without having anything, you just think, oh, that must cost a lot. And then when you get money and it's like, that's not that much. And you really start to put things into perspective, and it's like opportunity, just like you said, where it's like, oh, well, if I get this, I can take this and I can flip this, and then I can start making more money off of it. It starts that simple mindset, because Johnny said it, is like, I don't think anybody has a problem making money or having a skill, for the most part, obviously, if they're listening to this, but it's that management piece. Because if you do not manage it, if you do not take care of it, just like he said, the lawnmower, you're not going to leave your lawnmower outside and forget about it and not pay attention to it and ignore it. It's,
Get rusty.
it's like all of these things wrapped in one. But at the end of the day, it's not, you can't chase it. I think that's the problem. That people can have that conflict.
Good that he asked this question, though, because we're having this conversation, right? Like, I feel like that's a part of the problem, that our community doesn't talk about money very often. It is few and far in between for this type of conversation to happen amongst family members, right? And sometimes you don't know what's possible if you never have seen it. That's something I know Johnny had talked about earlier, and people just having this belief like, oh no, clearly it's too good to be true. So I think it's important to not be afraid to talk about money. Like, it's okay. Right. Right. How it works. Talk about opportunity, because that's what you just said. It's an opportunity. So how are you going to know what type of opportunities are out there when it comes to money if you're not having these discussions? So Jay, I'm so glad that you brought this up, because this is a vital part. This is a vital part of entrepreneurship of life, regardless of if you're identifying with it as yourself or not. I think we could all agree you're going to need money to do things that you need to do in life, right? So if it's something that you cannot avoid, that you are going to, even if you wanted to live off grid, you know how expensive it is to be
Look, that's why I mentioned earlier when we talked about
depends on the kind of lifestyle you want to have off the grid.
No, but here's the thing. That's why I mentioned
it's about the only thing. Like, if you wanted to just lay on the grass, because if you have a pillow, if you have a coat, something had to pay for that, right? Even if you needed to chop down a tree to build a shelter, guess what? You need the tool to do that. We as humans, unfortunately, are very limited in our skills of accomplishing things without tools. Like, you're going to need, and money is just one of them.
I hope this evolve.
Yeah, it's one of those. That's why I mentioned earlier about when you have that passion or that thing that excites you. It's best if you train yourself to look at money and not the traditional way, but in a sense of in an objective way. It becomes, all right, well, I don't need to be passionate about something in order to get paid. That's why I mentioned there's so many people who are franchise owners in this country. You don't even have to be the person who originates and does all this creative thinking. And no, it's a whole business in a box. There's check cashing, there's pest control, there's Nestle Toll House cookies. I'm just mentioning just stuff that you go in the mall and you see, and there's so many different things that are like literally businesses in boxes where you could go get financing, and these could just be, hey, I put money into this and I don't even have to Wingstop. I don't even have to go into it really. I just need to sit back and collect the check and let the people who do this make their money and manage it. But when you look at it that way, it changes from, all right, I have to be this passionate person in order to do. No, you just got to be smart. And you got to put your money in positions where it's going to make more money. Assets, not liabilities. That just as simple.
That's what it boils down to.
You can't out earn your money, Right. Your money can earn. How did the dude say? He said your money can earn money faster than you can earn it by working for it. You know what I'm
Man,
saying? And it don't take a whole lot of money to get started though, neither. You figure out ways to get it to flip a couple times for you.
Well, I think it
Buy
goes.
this and then make it $1 to $2, and just keep doing that, man, and put in some bigger investment. So that way it can start flipping big money. You know what I'm saying? You got to
and
figure
you
out how to do that.
and
That's
you're
how
gonna
money
have to
works.
invest in you. That was that's just the big thing that I think is also a tough conversation is you do have to invest in you. I'm not gonna be the person that's gonna tell you go to all of these gurus and go to whatever the case is because in a lot of cases these guys are frauds. Most of the people on the internet, most, not all, but the
Most.
vast majority of people who talk about things do not actually do them or do not are not connected with the people who do the very process that they're speaking on.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, you have to pay attention. There's situations where you have to invest in yourself. You have to put yourself in different arenas. I have a mentor who went to a. I'm not bad mouthing Damon John. It's just a review from my mentor. He went to a Damon John seminar and said it was just really just him trying to get them to spend more money on something else. And then he went to a Goldman Sachs seminar and they gave him a completely different set of info. But he invested this money.
Yeah.
He put the time to put himself in these situations, and his business allowed him to afford to invest that. But go on Udemy, go follow Jay on the mentorship, go YouTube University. But you're gonna have to invest either some money or some time, some sweat equity, and
Be done.
that's it.
Definitely be done. There's so many tools out there, man. But well, listen, we're gonna do the quote of the day, right?
Okay, and I'm up. So, the
Drum roll,
quote of the
please.
day today is success is not something that happens to you. It's something that happens because of you and because of your action you take. Grant Cardone. I don't know who that is.
It's a
Might
What's
have to
the
look
Oh,
him
salesman.
up.
he's awesome.
He's
10x.
a
You gotta read
sales
it.
yeah,
guru.
It's a
No.
motivational something, but it does get you like high energy about working.
yeah.
It's funny because I heard the Jay-Z version of that before I heard this version.
What's this
He
version?
said, well, no, he was talking about life, like life. Well, yeah, that's how I took it. Sorry.
Yeah.
It was life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you.
Mm. But listen, man, this been dope, man. Like it always is, man. It always is, man. You guys, I'll be sitting back and just think about what you're saying, and it's hard to kind of formulate my thoughts sometimes. I'll be thinking about what y'all saying, man, and I got a whole thing of notes over here, man. I'm taking notes of everything you guys talking about, and I'm gonna get right on here tonight and start looking up this stuff, man. So you guys keep killing it, man. Tell us how to reach you guys, man.
Yeah, so
Everybody,
Ladies
for
first.
me, you guys can reach me if you see where my video is at the bottom. It has my name, Lachey, as well as my Instagram handle. That's also for Facebook. You can reach me at my website, which is www.cherish-investments.com. Or if you want to send me a direct message, which I'm completely okay with from you guys, you can shoot me an email, which is just LaRue, which is my last name, at cherishinvestments.com. And I am the owner of Cherish Investments, which is a business development and marketing agency. I provide retainer services for small business owners when it comes to growing their businesses, defining their brand, reaching new customers. And I do that through the retainer services or through coaching and consulting.
dope, dope.
Mm.
What about you, Miss Danielle?
Came with the full commercial.
You know,
Please,
elevator speech.
this
I'm
year,
just little old Danielle MacArthur. Owner, you can find me at DCDR Solutions, or as I like to say, respectfully, hit the DMs for
I
any
love that.
coaching and whatnot advice. I know both from the Shaping Solutions podcast or from small business or my business. Go ahead, Johnny.
your turn,
Well,
Johnny.
I am Jonathan Smith. I also go by Johnny Leverage. I am a wealth strategist, trust consultant, and business advisor with Eniad Infinite. Um, what we do is we help successful business owners and investors spend less time focusing on key financial decisions and more time on what it takes to really grow their business. We usually do that by two ways, two transformations. We show business owners how to turn their and minimize their tax bills tremendously and eliminate capital gains tax, and then also to turn expenses into revenue. So if you want to reach me, the website should be right down below. It's www.anyadinfinite.com. Um, go on the website. Please read, watch the videos. We have a lot of content on there, and schedule a call. Schedule a discovery call. At the bottom of the page is one of the key things because I make sure. Please read. You can also schedule other calls on there, but at the bottom of the page, just check it all out because you will not be disappointed. It's a lot of stuff that you will not see just offered anywhere. So if you're here and you see this and you have the chance to meet me, I'm telling
This
you
is
right
your
now,
sign.
this is your time. Shine, man. Go for it. Let's go.
Tell us about the event too.
Oh
Oh,
yeah. October 20th in Dallas, Texas, specifically Farmers Branch at the House of Cigars Factory. We're doing the Creating Leverage Wealth Workshop. Where we'll be going over some different strategies on how business owners can, reduce their tax bills, how they can get into franchising, how business owners can turn their businesses into franchises. How they can create disability income off of life insurance policies, uh, exit strategies, you name it. This is going to be the place where you're going to get all of that information that you try to go find on YouTube and people give you fluff. We're giving you the real deal. We're giving you access to lawyers, CPAs, accountants, other financial professionals like myself that know how to do this stuff. Brother Jay, I'm hoping comes so he can drop the real estate wisdom because it's our system is called Ultimate Banking,
Yeah.
and it's literally probably the last money management system that you will ever need. And if you learn this and teach it to your kids, I can promise transcendent wealth. These are time-tested strategies
nice.
that some of the people we look up to or we've read about that they've used, and this is being brought. That's a Lil Wayne quote I always use. I take food from the bears and bring it back to the lions.
Facts.
There
Yeah,
you go.
love
That's
that one.
not too far from where I live at too. So I'm right up the street from that, man. So I definitely will be there for sure.
Please, please, yes,
You
sir.
guys continue to tune in, man, to Small Business Stand Up, man, the podcast here. Also, Real Estate Aholics, what we have tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. We're going to actually go through the
Oh
10 steps
yeah.
tomorrow. So if you guys tune into that, man, we're going to talk about that. Sports Predicting Podcast. We do that on Mondays. Talk about sports, man,
I
also
thought
solutions.
I thought we was going over the LLCs.
Well,
You and Jay. Yeah, because it was you, Jason, and
We got too
I'm
many
supposed to.
podcasts. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'm
you
supposed
may
to
be
be the.
right, though.
And look, I
You may
usually
be
talk
right.
on most of them. I'm supposed to be taking notes on this one because they're going through the whole real estate
You know what?
process.
You're right. We did change it. We did. You're right about that. I forgot about that. So
Yeah,
I got
I'm waiting on you, Lenny, Jason. I'm waiting on Jarrell. Hey, I want all the game,
no
man.
doubt. So if y'all want to come on, definitely come on, man. You definitely can come on there for sure. So yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing over here, man. Definitely, if you guys want to learn a little bit more about real estate, man, go to the Patreon. I send you a link. Hit me a DM respectfully, right? And I'll give you guys the link, man, so you guys can be a part of that, man. Get some ton of these videos we got going on here, man. So the stuff that you don't get on the YouTube or Facebook or whatever the case is all on the Patreon, man. And the great thing about this, when we have these different events that we do, we'll be doing once a month, you guys will be able to come participate. So everybody that's part of the Patreon will be able to come. So just
Yes,
come kick it
sir.
with us, man. Shake some hands, man. Pass the business cards out, man. Let's make some money together. Why not?
Yeah, come
How far is
on.
Dallas? I think
I
that's
ain't too far. I ain't
it's
too
a
far.
straight
I ain't
flight.
too far. Yeah,
Hey,
absolutely.
don't worry. We'll be flying you out soon enough. We're gonna have
What's
some.
going on?
Hey,
Don't
Yeah.
look.
tempt me with a good time now.
Hey,
Right, because I
look.
was just about to say I'm jealous. It's all the way in Dallas. That sounds like a great event.
Yeah, it's going
Oh
down.
yeah.
It's going
It's
down.
it's it's,
You're the
it's
event person though. We need to help you with the event stuff. So you got a lot of stuff going on with the events and stuff too. So,
Oh
but
yeah.
listen, yeah. But yeah, oh yeah, and also tune in from last Saturday. We did a one-on-one with Miss
Oh
Lachey
yeah,
on the podcast, man. So that was dope too, man. So you guys tune
a
into
lot of
that.
fun.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
Definitely.
all right. Appreciate
Awesome.
you guys again, man. Salute to you guys, man. Go kill the rest of the week, man.
All
Destroy it.
right.
Yes, sir.
All
Let's go.
right. You guys have a good one.